All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to 5.2, the sampling good and bad. We're going to talk about some good types of sampling and some bad types of sampling and what makes them good and what makes them bad. So, convenient sample, first type of sampling method. Convenient sample consists of individuals from the population who are easy to reach. Who are easy to reach. All right, let me take my coat off real quick because it's kind of getting in my way writing. Um, Yeah, so convenience sample consists of individuals from the population who are easy to reach. So basically, like if you're gonna do a sample and you just go straight up and ask your friends, or if you just ask like the first people who walk in the gate in the morning or something like that, something where it's just it's a convenience sample. It's kind of in the name, right? You just kind of go out and get the kind of first people you think of getting. Um, this tends to be a pretty biased type of method. So this is a biased method. Um, so again, we'll talk about that next. So um, bias. The design of a statistical study shows bias if it is very likely to underestimate or very likely to overestimate the value you want to know. So basically, it's just likely to be wrong, right? If you want to find the mean height of people in the school, you're not going to want to go surveying the football team, right? Uh, that's very likely to overestimate the average height of people at the school because you're measuring, the football team, which are likely to be a little bit taller. So yeah, a biased method is going to basically underestimate or overestimate the value you're trying to find. Um, so it's just inaccurate, right? So the next sampling method that we're going to talk about is voluntary response sample. Voluntary response sample consists of people who choose to be in the sample. Choose to be in the sample by responding to a general invitation. So this is like putting a poll on the internet saying, hey, what do you think about, I don't know, sunbathing, right? Or maybe like spray tans, maybe like, what's your opinion on spray tans? Um, and voluntary response, people who see it and want to respond to it are going to respond to it. Not everybody who sees it has to respond. They could just ignore it. So voluntary response is people who choose to be a part of it, and others can just ignore it, basically. A random sample. Oh, by the way, that voluntary response is typically biased as well. Um, tends to be inaccurate. Random sample. Random sample consists of individuals from the population who are selected for the sample using a chance process. So random chance, right? This is not biased, right? This is a good unbiased sampling method, just by the way. Yeah, a random sample. So in order to ensure that there is no bias, you have to choose your subjects randomly. Has to be a completely random chance, like rolling a dice and landing on a number, just a random chance of being selected. So you're not really being chosen deliberately. And there's also nobody whose chances are lessened of being picked. So everybody's chance is equal of getting picked. Um, and you never know which one is going to get picked. So random sample. Examples of that would be like taking everybody's name, putting it into a hat, and just swirling it around. Equal size pieces of paper as well, right? Equal size paper with the name in a hat, and then you're just kind of mixing it up and pulling them out, right? It could start to be biased if like some of the paper was bigger than other papers. So if someone's name was on a bigger piece of paper than someone else's, that increases their odds of getting picked. So that's not entirely random, right? So it has to be completely equal, completely fair, completely balanced for it to be considered a random sample. All right. A school nurse wants to know if students at his school are overweight on average. After school one day, he walks to the gymnasium across the hall from his office and selects the first 20 students he sees. He weighs these 20 students and uses the sample mean weight as an estimate for the mean weight of all students at the school. Explain why the sampling method is biased. Is the mean weight of the students in the sample likely greater than or less than the mean weight of all students in the school? So basically, to sum it up, school nurse goes across the hallway to the gym, finds 20 students, weighs them, gets an average, and says that's the average for the whole school. Now, of course, this is biased, but we have to explain why it's biased. So I would say this is kind of a lot, right? It's a big explanation here. It's likely that the students in the gym after school are more active and physically fit, right? So let's kind of write this all out. All right, so what we got so far is that it's likely that students in the gym after school are more active and physically fit than the rest of the students. So, this means, hold on there. This means the sample mean weight uh is likely, what do you think? Are we gonna overestimate or underestimate the mean weight, right? If these students are more physically fit than students in general, then they're probably going to weigh a bit less than average. So it's likely to underestimate the true mean weight of all students in the school. There we go. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Let's move on to example number 2. So the school nurse from the preceding alternate example decides to obtain a sample of 20 students in a different way. He submits a morning announcement stating health data needed. If you are willing to be weighed, please come down to the health room this week. Explain why the sampling method is biased. Is the mean weight of the 20 students in the sample likely to be greater than or less than the mean weight for the entire student body? So again, this one sort of goes to like a voluntary response type of sampling, right? By the way, we didn't really mention it here, but we should have. This here was a convenience sample, right? I don't know if you caught on to that. I don't know how to spell convenience all the time. Sometimes I get it right, sometimes I get it wrong. Um, right. The last one was a convenience sample because he just went to the gym right across the hall and just saw the first 20 students. Like, let me just take that. This one, though, of course, is a voluntary response sample. All right, because in this one, you're making an announcement, and then 20 students are voluntarily going to show up to be weighed. So why is this biased? So in this case, it is likely that only students with low body weights will volunteer to be weighed. Um, Students who are overweight are less likely to volunteer. So therefore, the voluntary response sample is likely to yet again underestimate the true mean weight for all students. All right. And then finally, we kind of asked, well, what can we do instead, right? Explain how the school nurse can avoid the bias identified from the previous example. So we've got two types so far of two biases. So remember, the best method to beyond bias is a random sample. So essentially, how can the nurse conduct a random sample here? All right. So what the nurse can do is the nurse can get a list of all students at the school um, put all their names on um, equal sized pieces of paper, equal sized pieces of paper, and pick 20 and just I'll just say and pick 20, right? Yeah, something like that. It's basically kind of putting it in a hat type of thing, right? Now, if it's a lot of students and maybe like a school like this where it's really big, maybe an alternative method would be like have their names be listed from like one to whatever, like 1 to 2,000, however many students are at the school, and then just do random number generator and see what the first 20 random numbers are, and just go to those names on the list. So who, if the random number generator says 309, then see whose name is 309 on the list. That's one of your people for your sample, and do that 19 more times to get all 20 people. So something random, right? Something where everybody has an equal opportunity of being selected, and you choose the 20 that you need, right? The 20 that you want for your sample. So random selection. All right, so that's gonna be it. That's gonna do it. I'll leave it at that. If you guys have any other questions, let me know. I'll see you in class. Best of luck. Bye for now.